People often ask me, what is the American strategy? We now have a situation where the Russians are sending fighter jets to Maliki. The Iranian Quds Force leader, Soleimani, is in Baghdad organizing Shia militia. So Maliki and the government that we support is being supported by the Russians and the Iranians. I mean, how did we reach that wonderful situation?
Yeah, or a situation where those Arab countries that were calling for the removal of Assad are now very worried about the groups trying to remove him. So this is my point. The complexity of this region isn't just visited on us, okay? And that's why I say you've got to get beneath all this. You see, we don't see a lot of this in our own media. But if you take the situation of Libya today, where we went into Libya and effectively through air power removed Gaddafi. And that was because he was threatening to kill his people. And okay, I support that. And at first, the country settled down because the people, by the way, were glad to be free of him. Okay. But then what happens is the extremist groups get working, and today what you have is a situation where Libya is highly unstable, very divided between West and East, and in the case of Libya, they're now exporting the terrorism down into sub-Saharan Africa.
It's arguably worse.
Huh?
It's arguably worse than it was under Gaddafi.
Well, except that here's the thing, and this is where I think, you know, because the same arguments you have about all these dictatorships. In the end, just bear in mind one thing. These young populations in the Arab world, and remember the population of Egypt, for example, has tripled in the last 40 years. So it was a population of 30 million, it's now 90 million. The average age in the Middle East, average age in the UK is late 30s, early 40s. The average age in the Middle East is mid-20s. In the Gaza Strip, the average age is 19. A quarter of the population is under the age of 5. Right? In this world that's developing, these dictators that we used to like to deal with because they offered stability, it's not stability anymore. So that's why I say, you know, when you say, well, what's the American strategy? The American strategy, in my view, should be to recognize this is going to be complex, it's going to be long, the next president after President Obama is going to be dealing with it, and probably the president after that. The Europeans, by the way, have got to get on side with America in a proper alliance with them and do their bit to fight this. And then we've got to identify what the problem is. And here's the good news that I think we haven't caught up with in the West. Because of what has happened in the last few years since the Arab revolutions, there are lots of people in the Middle East who are prepared to have this argument about Islamism, about the right relationship between politics and religion, and to resolve it. And it's essential for us that they do, because we can't win this in the end. We can help them win it, but we can't do it. And the reason it's so important is that, and you know, I get this from my own audience back in Britain who say, look, let's just stay out of the whole thing. I totally understand that. But here's the problem. We may be weary of war, but they're not. And part of their fight, I'm afraid, is with us and our way of life. And so whether we like it or not, we're going to be involved in it.